Thank you for joining me for this episode of Festo's Garage. Today we're going to be installing 2-inch lift spacers on this 2006 Jeep Commander. The reason we want to do this modification is you can see that the back of the Jeep is sitting higher than the front of the Jeep. We're going to start off by opening the hood, and we're going to take the things out of the way so that we have access to the top bolts of the struts. On the driver's side here, I'm going to take loose this negative battery cable. This is an 11mm wrench. The reason you want to take loose the negative battery cable is just in case your wrench touches against the edge of the vehicle, it does not short out. So once we got that connection off, power is now disconnected from the vehicle, and we can safely work on the fuse box and everything else that we've got to remove. 10mm bolt right here, or a nut rather. Once you get that pulled out of the way, there's another 10mm straight down here. Alright, with that lifted up, we can now reach all 4 of these bolts. We just have to kind of move this over while we're working on it, but we can get those out. Let's go to the other side. This side, very similar to the other side. We just need to get this out of the way far enough that we can get to the bolts underneath. Here's a little 8mm. You can see the bolts for the top of the struts right here, and they're the same on both sides. And these are 18mm. And do both sides. These lug nuts are 19mm. Underneath the truck, we got the tie rod here. We're going to go ahead and take that loose. That's a 21mm on there. If the nut loose, we should be able to hit it right here, and that should come out. There you go. On each side, you have a little wire that's clipped into the strut itself. This is the time you want to take that off. And you can go around the back with a pair of pliers and squeeze a little clip and push it out, just like that. All right, we have 18mm right here in this drop link. We're gonna take it out. Got that out of the way. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna roll a jack under here, and we're gonna support this arm. All right, with a little bit of weight taken off the arm, we're gonna pop this bolt loose. 21 on the front and a 24 on the back. All right, next step is we're gonna take this 18mm off right here. Now we're not gonna take it all the way off. We're gonna get it down to the bottom, and then we're going to tap on it. All right, I've got a couple threads left on there. In case it falls, I don't want it to come all the way off. Now I'm going to strike it right here on this little spot until it falls. Now that it's loose, I can take the nut the rest of the way off. Lift the control arm out of the way, and this knuckle can now swing out of the way. See that? All right, this is better done as a 2-man job. I got King Cuz here with me, and I'm gonna lift up on the strut, and he's gonna pull that bolt out the front. Now that that's out of the way, the strut will start to fall down. We'll take some pressure off this jack, and we're gonna let this whole assembly down. This part's pretty simple. You wanna stick this spacer on the top of the strut. Now what you wanna make sure you do is you start all these nuts right here before you tighten any of them down. And I say that because if you were to tighten this all the way down, you wouldn't be able to get the nut back over top of the stud. So pretty simple deal. Get them started, tighten them down to 25 foot-pounds, and you can put it back into the truck. All right, this is what I consider the hardest part of the job, is getting the strut in with the spacer on it. So the only way I found to do that is to stick the bottom over top here, get it as close as you can to the knuckle, then just shove the strut through. Now, it's gonna rub the top of this plastic. I got the little ball joint sideways so I can get this past it. See that? Once that's past there, then I can feed this back up in to the holes. Pull the arm down. We got this clevis here, we got the bolt started. We need to make sure we get it straight and tap the bolt through. Just like that. Put the nut back on the back, but don't tighten it yet. We're gonna go ahead and get everything else started before we tighten any of these up. Next one to go on is gonna be this ball joint. We do that by just jacking the control arm back up. Alright, so we're compressing this up far enough to get the nut started on the bottom of this ball joint. Once that nut's on, you're safe. You don't have to worry about the jack now coming down because that's going to hold it in place. All right, this is the next one. We're going to get it started. We're going to do the tie rod in. Putting this nut back on, but you can see that this is moving. So this actually has part on it where you can put a 10mm wrench and hold it right there while you tighten it up. Let's get this guy down here to put your little cable back on. I think it's ready to rock and roll. Let's let the pressure back off. Next step, we're going to put these new washers and nuts that came with our kit on top. And it looks like these are 19mm. So those little clips are back in place, all three of those, and this is all back in place. Last thing we're going to do, put our negative battery cable back on, and then we'll throw the wheels on her. Little trick I learned, it works good even with lifted trucks with big tires and stuff, is you take your foot, you stick one foot under each side of the wheel. Then you can use your feet to lift the wheel up onto where you want it, and if you look, I can rotate it, see? Now, line it up with the studs, push it right on. Did all that with my feet, no problem. Get each nut started, a couple threads. Once you've got a couple threads going, you know you're okay, you won't cross thread it. You can use the impact to do the rest of the work for you.
Hope you enjoyed that video, and you can watch another, and you can watch this one, you can watch this one. Different options, different choices. Some guy just brings you one option, not this guy. Two options. Watch one, this one or this one.